Soviet Union, the series of a lifetime, and this is the final and deciding game.
The Canada-Soviet Series. Brought to you by Ford Motor Company of Canada and by Ford and Mercury dealers. Remember, Ford of Canada and their dealers listen better, and they'd like to hear from you. And by Labatt Breweries of Canada, brewers of Labatt's 50, the ale that puts more life in your living, and Labatt's Blue, the beer that smiles along with you. Enjoy the best on ice from Labatt's.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Good, Jr., and here in the Lennon Sports Palace, 3,000 Canadian hockey fans, along with millions all across Canada, hopeful that Team Canada can maintain its momentum that we've seen here over the last two games. To do that, two of the keys will be Phil Esposito and Paul Henderson.
Get into position there. Henderson into Ellis in the corner. A pass right in front of Esposito. Scores! Esposito. It's cleared over on the far side. It's back to Savard. He fakes the shot, turns. There's going to be a penalty call here. Esposito shoots. He scores! Esposito fires that puck, and it's all tied up again. Got to the defense, goes right on the goal, he scores! Henderson right through to score for Canada. A beautiful goal by Paul Henderson.
Great team leadership by Phil Esposito, and great surprise by Paul Henderson of the Toronto Maple Leafs with his scoring ability and his obvious skating ability. And this is Game 8 of the Canada-Soviet Series from Moscow.
There's a new way to borrow.
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 At the TD Bank. The TD Bank.
Our new way to help you buy the things you need is called cash flow. It means that whenever you want a personal loan, what counts most with us is the money you're earning, not your possessions. Ask your Toronto Dominion Bank manager about cash flow, TD's new way to help you get a personal loan.
There's a new way to borrow.
For people like you.
A new way to borrow.
Like me.
A new way to borrow at the TD Bank. The TD Bank. Toronto Dominion.
The bank where people make the difference.
Hello, Canada. I'm Foster Hewitt, and I'll be doing the play-by-play for tonight's 8th and final game of this series. Each team has won 3, tied 1, and lost 3. So they go into the final game all tied up. The Soviets have scored 27 goals in 7 games, and Canada has scored 25. So if you had been writing the script, it couldn't have produced a more dramatic and exciting final. Tonight we are making hockey history, and the teams and fans are really up for this one. Brian Conacher will again do the color. Brian, I wouldn't miss this one for all the tea in China. How about you?
Well, Foster, it's no longer an 8-game series. It's down to a 1-game series. Team Canada in the past few games has neutralized any conditioning advantage the Soviet team might have had in the earlier games through a close-checking, physical style of play. Both teams are tired from the constant heavy hitting, and I expect both of them to play a close-checking type of game while waiting for scoring chances. If it comes down to one key factor in determining the winner tonight, I'd have to say that the team with the hot goaltender will win this 8th and decisive game.
Two teams are coming out on the ice, each team having a partner, and then they take over on the blue line. And I note that the Canadian team are carrying white Stetsons. But the presentations will be made, and then the national anthems, and then the players introduced after that. The air in the Moscow arena here is tense as we get ready for this 8th and final game of the series.
the international hockey match between Team Canada and the Soviet Union is declared open.
Presentations will begin now. The first being with Charlie Hay, President of Hockey Canada, and he will present a totem pole to the Soviet official, Colonel Georgy Mozilov, President of the Soviet Ice Hockey Federation. I also see Alan Eagleson there, along with Joe Kriska, the president of the Canadian Amateur Hockey Association. That Howell Foster was for the V for Victory sign that Gary Bergman waved over his head as he was introduced. Again, Phil Esposito not taking any chances. He hangs onto the boards when he's introduced. And Foster, the white Stetsons, of course, are from the Stampede City, Calgary.
This is Game 8 of the Canada-Soviet Series from Moscow.
The new 73 Ford LTD. Can an LTD be as quiet as a glider? Nobody has to convince you how quiet a glider is. Airborne with no engine at all. Can an LTD be as quiet as a glider? To find out, we put a sound level meter in a new LTD to measure its quiet. Quiet is the sound of a well-made car. We also put a meter in the glider and let General Radio Company, real sticklers for accuracy, monitor. Let's test the noise level in the glider first, 82 decibels. Now the Ford LTD. Look at that meter at 60 miles per hour, only 65 decibels. Believe it or not, this Ford LTD is quieter than the glider. Quiet is the sound of a well-made car. The new 73 Ford LTD. See it at your Ford dealers now.
Both teams have just made two changes, Foster. For Team Canada, the most noticeable one, Ken Dryden replaces Tony Esposito in goal to start this critical game, and Frank Mahovlich replaces Bill Goldsworthy as an extra forward. For the Soviets, they've only made one change. They've dropped number 5, Ragulin, the big defenseman who's supposed to have a sore leg. They've replaced him with number 17, Valery Harlamov, unquestionably one of their star players.
Rudolf Bada of Czechoslovakia and Joe Kampala of West Germany are the two referees, and they nearly caused a riot in the discussions prior to the game as to whether they would be allowed to officiate. That is the West Germans. But they finally resolved it around noon today. The start of the game was very much in doubt there up until noon. However, the teams are out on the ice now, ready to start. Phil Esposito was going to start at center ice. It was thought that Pat Stapleton mightn't be able to play, and Talon was dressed, but apparently Stapleton's ankle stood up, and he's going to start. Tretiak is back in goal for the Soviet. They're playing the entire 8-game series with him in goal. Phil Esposito at center, Cornwallis on the right. As the puck is dropped and shot up to the line, here's Anderson going up alone quickly, and Dryden had to stop a hot one. A pass comes right back near the blue line. The shot is stopped and knocked out at center ice. Vasiliev going back to get it. Puck is knocked over on the left wing to center ice, and the Canadian team were nearly caught there right after the face-off. A long pass over there. Parisi going in, tried to lay over a pass. Esposito going into the corner. Petrov trying to cover him as the Soviets are changing immediately after they could get a chance at center ice. A quick shot is wide as Mikhailov let a drive go from the right wing. A cleared pass. The Canadians failed to get a pass at center. Vasiliev hit Petrov, and the Soviet with Mikhailov playing it over on the far side at center. Mikhailov overskated him. Leadoff follows, took a shot, and it's called on the offside at the Canadian blue line.
In talking to Johnny Esau just before this game started, he's back in Canada, in Toronto. He says the fan reaction and anticipation for this game is nothing short of phenomenal in Canada today. I understand that many of the school children have had the afternoon off, and I'm sure a lot of the teachers have probably taken it off anyways.
Well, there's one thing about the Canadian supporters here in Moscow. There are 3,000 of them, and I think they've made more noise than any 16,000 I've ever heard in Canada. They're really hooping it up and giving the team every support possible. They've been in here for the last hour, and they must be just about worn out by now. They've played a minute of the first period, no score in the game, as the Soviet with Anderson failed to get anywhere. Yakushev couldn't get anywhere. Lyapkin, 25, goes into the corner. Gilbert's after him. Rattel out there on the forward line with Dennis Hull. Rattel stole the puck from Vasiliev. Maltsev took it from him to Harlamov, coming up alone. Pass back to Mikulov. A loose puck in front, and the shot goes wide. Here's another drive from close in, and it's knocked out by Dennis Hull back to the Soviet line. Harlamov has returned to the lineup as an extra forward. He was injured for the last game. Now Lichenko at center. Shot it into the corner. Dryden stopped it back of the goal. Esposito is the backup goalkeeper. A quick pass blocked by Mikulov. Mikulov cleared from the side. It goes back to the blue line to Zagankov. White stopped it. A deflection out to center ice. Henderson goes up with Ellis on the right, and the pass failed to get there. Maltsev with Mikulov turning. It slides near the Soviet goal, and Maltsev now has it at his own blue line, number 10 at center, and the Soviet fans, there's a dive. There was a real dive there. There wasn't a triple call, but there'll be a penalty, and that's the first penalty of the game. With the score, Canada nothing, and the Soviets nothing. This is Game 8 from Moscow.
Okay, let's get it ashore. How about this for a pickup? It's the new Courier, imported by Ford. What's it got for you? Well, how about a peppy 1800cc engine up here, great on gas, and a big, comfortable cab. And a long wheelbase for a smooth ride. And Courier's priced right down there with the other little imports. Courier. Why not import it to your driveway? At selected Ford and Mercury dealers now.
Bill White off for tripping at 2:25. The Soviets have the odd man. When the Soviet player, Conquena, is still there, even though Bill White hardly touched him.
Penalties could be a key factor in this game, and it's such a close checking game, and where a break is going to make the difference, penalties could cost you dearly.
From the face-off, Soviet got the draw, but forced back to center. Vasiliev over to Lyapkin, 25. At center ice ahead to Yakushev, their leading scorer with 5 goals in the series. Henderson is the leading scorer of the entire series with 6 goals. Phil Esposito is tied with Yakushev with 5 apiece. Yakushev now cutting in front of his own goal, and Peter Mahovlich breaks himself on him, and there's going to be a penalty there. Peter Mahovlich checks and is given a hooking penalty, and Canada will play 2 men short. With the score, Canada nothing, and the Soviets nothing. This is Game 8 from Moscow.
Zenith announces the complete color TV, complete with Zenith's brilliant new Super Chromacolor picture tube, complete with a new 100% solid-state chassis, complete with one-button color tuning, and complete with famous Zenith quality. It's new Zenith Super Chromacolor with a giant screen color picture even brighter and sharper than original Chromacolor. New Zenith Super Chromacolor, the complete color TV.
Now Canada's 2 men short with Peter Mahovlich off for holding. Yakushev tried to come in. Back to Shadron, up to the blue line. Lyapkin played it over on the far side. They still pass it to Lyapkin. Here's the shot. And it bounded off Shadron, the Soviet player, and went into the crowd.
With 2 men short here, Foster, it's virtually impossible to cover the whole ice surface in your defensive zone. So what you have to do is set up a triangular pattern and keep the puck out of the prime scoring area.
105 and 1 penalty and 137 in the other for Canada. As Canada's playing 2 men short, Lyapkin over on the far side of the shot, and stopped and drive. They play it in the score. Yakushev left in the rebound to give the
mercy. Now Yakashev moves in, parks himself and hits the post, and he banks in the rebound. And now the Canadian team, one man short with Peter Mahovlich still in the box. So they capitalize on that extra penalty. And that last penalty to Peter Mahovlich was for hooking. Line back into the Soviet zone. Here's another penalty being called. This time the Soviets get it. And it's Petrov is going off for holding. The score, Soviets 1, Canada no score. This is Game 8 from Moscow.
It's people who make our country grow.
People have a happy goal.
It's people like you and people like me, and it's people. Yes, it's people
And it's people.
at the TD Bank.
Toronto Dominion.
The bank where people make the difference.
They're 5 aside.
The
Mr.
audio
Cobb
and
tried
the
to go
video
down
trouble
that
we're experiencing is occurring at the Moscow end, and it's temporary, so please stand by and do not adjust your set.
On the goal by Yakashev, who scored with Canada 2 men short. A change of player.
It'll be critical, Foster, in this game that Team Canada, that all the players keep cool heads out there, because penalties are going to play a decisive factor in this game, and so Team Canada has to stay on the ice.
Bill Esposito out there with Parisi as the puck goes back to Vikolov. Maltsev takes his pass. He's knocked over by, it'll be a penalty there to Canada. And just one penalty after another in this game. Parisi knocked the Soviet player over, seemed to get the elbow into it, and as a result will get an elbowing penalty, and Canada will play 2 men short, the Soviet 1. Parisi is
somewhat incensed at getting this penalty. He has no respect for the referee, and he could get himself right up the gate. What happens, Foster, in this type of situation? Because it's a close checking game, each player wants to make absolutely sure that his man, his responsibility in the ice doesn't get away from him. And this is one of the reasons there's a lot of hooking, tripping, and so on. Parise is totally incensed at this call, and he is tempted to swing his stick at the referee on a couple of occasions, and I think he's going to talk himself right out of this game. I think what he's incensed about, Foster, is that Petrov was standing right beside the referee on the opposite side of the rink, and he gestured to the referee that should have been a penalty, and then his arm went up. It was a very questionable call, because as I say, Parise and all of these players are just playing their man extra closely, and when they fall down, they don't feel they deserve the penalty.
still waiting to, while Phil Esposito speaks to the 2 referees, I'm afraid this kind of officiating is going to cause more than one incident before this game is over. But Parisi seemed to lose his head completely there when he threatened the referee with his stick. But he didn't swing it, but he certainly indicated he might.
Well, as you pointed out before the game started, there was a great controversy in the last day and a half in Moscow as to who would referee this game. Team Canada after they had had the two West German referees 2 games ago, suggested that they definitely would not play if they refereed the game. The Soviets, unfortunately, had the choice of referees, and they were their choice.
The ruling is that Parisi is out of the game, and that will likely mean a 10-minute penalty before he is allowed to be replaced. But he is out of the game. As far as we can learn in this controversial situation here, Harry Sinden threw a bench or something on the out on the ice, and somebody else threw a chair, and in the meantime, the player just skated all around. About a 10-minute misconduct, as well as the original penalty. Interference was the first call, then a 10-minute misconduct, and then he was put out of the game. So it's a very severe penalty to Team Canada, and they'll have 2 men in the penalty box for the second time in the game. And the Soviets scored the first and only goal of the game so far at 3:34. Yakashev, while White and Peter Mahavlich were in the penalty box.
Foster, I can sympathize with all the Team Canada members and Harry Sinden, but there's still over 15 minutes left in this game, and cool heads just have to prevail, because there's no question that the game will be finished, and those referees will be there the whole time. Here's how the original penalty came up on Parise. As you see, he's trying to check his man very closely, and he gets his legs sort of between him and gets in his way a little bit. But I really feel that this is how the game is going to be played in a close checking game, and that was a fairly severe call for that type of an incident.
They have 15:50 left in the first period, and the game has almost reached a boiling point as the two teams just skate around the ice. They're still talking to the two referees, who seem to be a little hesitant and upset at the time.
There has been a lot of discussion in the last day as to whether there would be an incident in this last game. Because the 4 games have been so closely contested, everybody felt that in light of what happened to Gary Bergman in that fight with the kicking and the spearing, that it wouldn't take too much to set the sparks of flame in a game here. And unfortunately, I believe for Team Canada, the sparks have flown early, and there's still a lot of hockey to be played, and if they can collect themselves, I don't believe this one goal is going to beat them tonight. A great controversy going down there on the bench. The players, some of the fans, but there's no way that the fans are going to get towards the bench, because there have to be at least 100 policemen guarding Team Canada's bench from any spectator that might want to venture in that direction.
The scoring play by Yakashev brought him up even with Henderson. Both of them now have 6 goals. That's really what counts, because on these assists in international hockey, you can't tell really whether the player deserves them or not. They seem to be very indifferent to assists over here. They're finally getting things cooled out a bit. A few towels have been thrown at the officials, especially Joe Campella, the West German. But they had this tremendous build-up the last day or so on who would officiate, and it almost tipped off what might happen tonight. The feeling was running so high. So now Parisi is out of the game, and the Canadian team will have to get used to penalties here, the way they're going. They have 2 men in the box, the Soviet one, and from the face-off, Vikolov comes up over the line. Cleared it on the side. He hangs on to it. Back to Luchenko. Back over on that far side. He still jiggles it around. Back to Luchenko. Same spot here. Fake shot. Now it finally goes, and Dryden kicked it out. LaPointe shoots it down the ice. Soviets have 1 man in the penalty box, and Canada 2. Puck is back at the goal. Luchenko clearing to Maltsev at center ice. Over to Luchenko. And it's offside as Vikolov went in on the left wing ahead of the play. 15-12 left in the first period. 1-0 for the Soviet Union. 1:22 left in one penalty and 12 seconds left in the other for Canada. 56 for the Soviets. Puck goes back to Yakushev, the most dangerous player out there for the Soviet. Soviet player played it over to Shadron. Shadron passed back. The Afghan gets ready, shoots. Dryden knocked that one down. And the Canadian team lob it out. Peter Mahovlich breaks down the right side on getting the pass. Comes from the side, centered out. Frank Mahovlich, tried to go in and failed to get a shot on goal. A jamming session on the far wing, and the shot went wide. Yakushev is stopped by Peter Mahovlich, and the puck goes up to Shadron. He's alone across the line into the corner. Shadron still has it, played it back, and it rolled to one side. Soviet had it momentarily. Savard stopped it. It goes to Shadron, and the puck hit a skate with Savard going over on that left side, being chased back. The Soviet at full strength. Canada a man short. Down the left wing for Canada, center ice, over the line, in on the defense, knocked over. LaPointe tried to get through. A quick rush, a high lob to Leadoff, and the drive was deflected. Canada recovering. Ellis shooting it down the ice. And it's called on the icing call.
Parise is going to be a big loss to Team Canada in this game because, of course, he's been getting that puck out to Phil Esposito. He's been playing very well along the boards, and, of course, he is exceptionally tough in the corners. So Jean-Paul Parise is going to be a very difficult player for Coach Harry Sinden to replace in this game.
I assume the threat to the referee with Parise threatening to slash the referee was the reason he was put out of the game. But he had a minor, a misconduct, and then was put right out. A 1-0 for the Soviets. They have 13:44 left in the first period. And this is really life and death here tonight, the way they're playing. Lots of time taken on the change of players. Luchenko is on that key point. Vikolov comes out, number 18. Maltsev is centering. Harlamov is on the left wing. He was injured for the last game. Puck goes into the corner. Bill White played it on the right side. Shot it down. Henderson is covered. Interfered with all the way down there by Zagantov. They jam into the corner. And here goes the penalty. No question about that. With the score, the Soviets won and Canada no score. This is Game 8 from Moscow.
Early morning, city traffic. It's nice to know you've got a car that can help you handle the situation. Pinto is economical to operate and easy to handle. Pinto's rack and pinion steering and wide stands are designed for agility and quick response and make cornering and tight parking a little easier. Pinto offers you maneuverability, economy of operation, and value for the money.
Good morning. This is your airborne traffic reporter. We've just lifted off and are heading out towards the
Ford Pinto, a strong alternative to the imports.
Zagantov is off for interference. Here's a pass back to Park. Cleared on the right side to Ellis. Right in front of the net for Phil Esposito. as Canada at full strength for a change. And the Soviet a man short. Canadians having a chance. Here's a shot. Right on. Quick check. They bang it in. Bill Esposito knocks in the rebound. And the score is tied. Bill Esposito from Park. And that ties the score.
I'm not sure if we want to see number 3, Lutsenko, help Bill Esposito put that in the net. Tretiak makes a good first save, but he can't clear the puck away. His defenseman comes in to help him and sweeps the puck, I think, right back into the net with the help of Bill Esposito. Now watch Lutsenko. Bill Esposito going back into front of the net, parking himself, and Lutsenko, the first shot's taken now. Now Lutsenko, number 3, helps Bill Esposito put it in the net.
Bill Esposito from Park at 6:45 of the first period to tie the score. Sagankov was off at 6:28, so Canada hit very quickly on that play. Bill Esposito was parked right in front of the net there to take advantage. And it's a 1-all tie. And the Canadian team has cooled out a bit after that rather wild first 3.5 minutes. A quick pass at center ice. Canada on the attack. Rattel tried his shot, goes after it again when it hit a skate. He's bumped by Vasiliev against the board. He's over by the Canadian section. Anderson is given a jolt. The puck rolls back to the defense. Vasiliev shot it out on the right wing, and Phil Esposito drove one wide. Rattel missed it. Now Stapleton took a shot. Another drive is wide there. Yakushev bringing it on the left wing was squeezed out. A 1-1 tie. Liapkin, 25 with Maltsev. Maltsev at center. Over the line. Stopped before he could get through. It's batted out to center. Cornwallis went after it. Couldn't get up there in time. Lutsenko shoots it into the Canadian zone. Bill White back to get it. Bill White allows Phil Esposito to pass it back to him. A rink-wide pass to the far wing. Phil Esposito going in on that left side. He shoots. Tretiak had a bounce in front of the net. And he went down on his knees as it fell to the ice. And that was a close call.
Ivan Cornwallis picks this rebound off Tretiak's glove right out of the air and almost gets Canada their second goal. Foster, I'm glad to see that Canada has scored relatively early in this game, because in a tight checking game like this, it's very important to get that first goal early, because you're always wondering whether you can score in a tight checking game like this. And Canada now is right into this game. If they keep their composure, they could take this game right away from the Soviets.
By scoring that goal, Phil Esposito has now moved into the tie with Yakushev and Paul Henderson. Each have scored 6 goals in the series.
Again, the coaches are trying to play a little bit of chess amongst each other as far as matching lines. I'm not sure who has the home advantage. I would imagine the Soviets do in this last game. So they'll get the last change, which means Harry Sinton will be allowed to change his line just once, and then he has to stick with it.
Gilbert and Dennis Hull, along with Rattel, the Canadian forward line. Pass back to Park. The shot hit the Canadian player. The shot by Gilbert just trickled off Tretiak's glove. They keep it in. Canada pressing hard. Lutsenko back to the net. It's hit by Dennis Hull. It hit a skate. The Soviets clear out to trickle off. Over to Harlamov. Harlamov closing in. Passes to Lutsenko in front of the net. And he couldn't control the puck to get a shot away. Lutsenko fired one that hit a leg. Taken back to the goal. Park failed to get loose. It comes to the wing. Dennis Hull lobbed it down the ice. It's sliding slowly. It won't go. And Lutsenko had to go back and take it. Henderson out there with Clark and Ellis. Park broke up the rush. A pass over to Ellis on the right wing. He lost it. Yakushev coming in and drilled one about 3 feet wide. Goes all the way back into the Soviet zone. A 1-all tie at the 10:52 mark. Slider with Bergman clearing it right onto Yakushev's stick. Yakushev skating to the blue line at center ice. Over on the wing, crossing the line, an offside. And it's called at the Canadian blue line. A 1-all tie, 10:43 remaining. Yakushev, number 15, really one of the big stars of the Soviet club. Lapointe and Savard are moving out on the Canadian defense. Jadron is an added starter on this change, and the Canadian team elects to send out Phil Esposito at center with Ellis and Henderson. So Clark has been relieved for the moment at center ice. Soviet coming up at center, a long pass. Yakushev lost his stick. Play is called, and there's going to be a penalty call against Canada for interference. And it's Peter Mahovlich who is talking to Ellis as Ellis goes over there by the penalty box, and he'll get the interference penalty. Canada will play a man short again. Ellis for interference. And the time is 9:27.
Coming up at our first intermission, Howie Meeker and Bill Good will look at minor hockey development in Moscow. Bill Good will also chat with Gary Alcorn of Hockey Canada, and Pat Marsden will talk with some of hockey's top authorities about this unique series.
Leanoff goes in on that left wing, number 9, going back to the Canadian goal. Still has the puck. He hangs on to it, clears the side, and the drive by Petrov went wide. Dryden was down on the play. There's interference by the Soviet player as he didn't have his stick, and here he gets it. No question about that. It was Petrov who kept jamming the Canadian player in on the boards when he didn't have his stick, and Petrov goes off for interference. So now there'll be 5 aside, and this first period has been a story of penalty after penalty.
Without a stick, you can see Petrov put the big bear hug on Phil Esposito as he goes along the board.
And they face off. The puck goes to center ice. Vasiliev cleared to Mihailov, teaming up with Blinov, who goes ahead of the play, and the shot failed to go over Dryden, who was down on the play and more or less out of it if he had been able to lob it high.
To round out our first intermission, we'll have Howie Meeker along as well with some more of his interesting observations.
They're 5 aside out there. Canada to the left, Soviet to the right. 9:57 left in the first period, a 1-1 tie. Into the corner, Canada in possession. A lob pass as Bill Esposito pulled away from Blinov, got over the line, trying to kick the puck. Vasiliev recovered, passed ahead, down the far side for Blinov, closing with Mihailov. He went back to the net, centered it. It comes in front, a shot, and Dryden grabbed that one with Mihailov, cutting right in front of Dryden after Vasiliev had fired the shot.
Dryden looks sharp on this play. He catches the puck. He's not absolutely sure where it is, but he made a good save, and not taking any chances, he smothered the puck.
Another change of players, and they're certainly frequent, and the hitting is hard, and the tempers have cooled out a bit after a wild first 3.5 minutes when Parisi was put out of the game. A cleared pass goes into the corner. Stapleton over to Henderson to Bill White. Bill White at center. Across the line, Vasiliev took him out. Clark goes into the corner, squeezed out on the boards. The pass comes over to Yakushev, who couldn't control it. Clark gets it back to the blue line. Stapleton's roller bounced. It's out to center ice with White. 17 for Canada, playing it to Stapleton. A long shot is knocked down up before it went over the line. Yakushev goes up over the line. He's hard man to stop. Bill White rode him off. It goes back to the goal as the Soviet fans whistle. That's how they show their displeasure. Clark going in back to the net. Played it into the corner. Stapleton starting down that far wing over to Bill White. Bill White in on the right side. He hit Tretiak to the chest, gets that puck again. Clark took a swing at it. The puck was hit in the air and knocked out into the center ice area by the Soviet player, Shadron. 8:29 left in the first period. A 1-1 tie. Yakushev having scored for the Soviet at 3:34, while Canada had 2 men in the penalty box. And then Phil Esposito tied it up from Park at 6:45 with Sagankov just getting an interference penalty. The face-off will be in front of the Soviet defense. Phil Esposito with Shadron. Comes back, a shot went wide. It's off the boards. Park coming in from the side, passed it to the corner. Cornwallis centered it out. Here's a shot. It hit a body. Frank Mahovlich couldn't get hold of it. And the Canadians drive it down the ice, and the Soviets are back at full strength. A quick pass is intercepted. Maltsev going in on the left wing. The puck went high in the air, goes back to the net. Bishikov centered it. Here's a shot. And Dryden seemed to get his hand on that one. Very close. A long pass goes over the line. Canada intercepts. Frank Mahovlich at center, going in on the left wing. Couldn't control the puck. Lutsenko took him in. Here's Park shooting. And it's wide of the net. Another pass right in front. A scramble. And they roll it off to the wing as Bergman tapped it to the side, and bodies are going in all directions. Quick pass on the right side. The Soviet on a 2-man break. Maltsev was going down on this left side. The pass never reached him. Bishikov is checked by Phil Esposito. Mikulov stole the puck, goes in on the wing, and Mikulov was knocked over. There's going to be another Canadian penalty, interference, and that's the favorite call by the officials. This time, Bata is calling the interference penalty to Cornwallis. Cornwallis of Canada gets an interference penalty. 12:51 the time.
It seems that any time the Soviet players fall down and look back over the shoulder to the referee, that they can almost entice the referee into giving an interference or a hooking or a holding penalty.
12:51, Cornwallis for interference. That's been the popular call all the way through this penalty-studded first period of play. 7:09 left in the first period, a 1-all tie. Face-off in Canada's zone. Maltsev knocked it back to the blue line to Lutsenko. Lutsenko going into the corner. Played it back on the boards out to Sagankov. A shot went wide. Harlamov getting it again on that far wing. Passing back to Lutsenko. Here's another shot. He scored! A long shot to the blue line. And I don't think anyone touched that puck. Lutsenko let it go from the blue line. And I think it went all the way.
That's the shot that will kill you. The defenseman standing right at the top of the slot, dead center in the ice, and he lets a low shot go, which Dryden had no chance on. Look at the people screening him. Right in the net, Dryden had no chance on it. It sets up and gets it back to that center man. Lutsenko lets a terrific shot go. Now they set it up again. They're looking again for that man in the middle, and here comes the shot right through a maze of players.
Here's a mix-up near the Canadian bench. Harlamov was knocked over in front of the Canadian bench and seems to be injured, or at least he's indicating he was hurt. Well, just how he was, I don't know. He was skating back when it was just a crowded session there, nothing else happened. Rattel is going to center ice. And Petrov is coming out, speaking to Bobrov as they delay the start. Now the Soviets lead 2-1 with 6:42 left in the first period. That goal was scored by Luchenko, a shot about 50 feet from inside the blue line. Mihailov was stopped at center ice. Zagankov cleared it. It goes loose again. Zagankov comes up to get it himself, is partially stopped by Rattel, with Mihailov carrying back into his own zone, shooting at the center ice. Dennis Hall took a shot wide. Gilbert rushed in but couldn't get it. Maltsev at center ice, coming on the left wing. Pass back to Mihailov. In back to the goal. Goes to the other side. Tap back to Zagankov. Shot around back to the net. Centered it right to the Canadian player. Dennis Hall going down with Bergman. And he elected to fire the shot from a long way out. Nowhere near the net. Puck is back at center. Savard. Back to Bergman. To Dennis Hull. Back to Savard. Savard at center ice. Cleared over the line. Closing in. Rattel tried to pass to Dennis Hull. He missed it. He went into the corner. Zagankov covers. And the play is stopped to the right of the Soviet goal. 5:31 left. Luchenko, number 3, you saw on the screen, as they change players again.
Foster, when the Soviets have that power play advantage, they're looking for 2 men. One between the hash mark, between the circles, the other one up near the blue line, in the same line with the goal. Dead in center.
Soviets leading 2-1. 5:29 left in the period. Here's a shot from way out. Petchak grabbed that one, was down on his knees. Ellis was close in there with Clark. This is Clark, Henderson, and Ellis out there. Lapointe and Savard playing up for Canada. Shadron got the draw. It goes back to Vasiliev. Henderson broke it up. Clark fighting for it with Shadron, who covered him against the boards. And the play is stopped. Yakushev, number 15, is over on the left wing. Mishkov is on the other. Shadron is ready for the face-off. Canada playing every man up. Rattel taking the face-off. Got the draw back to Savard. Savard fakes the shot, turns, gets in front of the net. He shoots. Oh, that was wide. Now Anderson on that far side ahead to Yakushev at center. Down on into the corner. Centered it. Henderson blocked it. To Clark. Here's Ellis on the right side. He bounced off his stick. Recovered. And shot out to center to Yakushev. His pass is partially knocked down. It goes loose again. And Clark to Henderson, who was checked before he could really get going. Checking is very close. The loose puck is near the Soviet defense. Henderson blocked it at center. Lapointe drives a long one that bounced. Kutchak covered it. Lyapkin is blocked on the boards as 3 of them jam against the boards. And the players seem to be cooling out a bit as far as tempers were concerned. But they certainly started off in a storm in the first 3.5 minutes. And the Canadian team lost the services of Parisi on a series of penalties. Bill Esposito ready for the face-off. Cornwallier on the right side. Frank Mahovlich on the left. Gusev trying to go out on that far wing. Lobbed it to center ice. Bill White shot it in. Phil Esposito was trapped before he could get back onside. 4:11 remaining in the first period. 2-1 for the Soviets. Soviets leading 2-1. Goals by Yakushev and Luchenko. The last one, a long shot, but it was screened. Dryden couldn't see it. Here's Mahovlich going in. A hard drive on that left wing. Cornwallier couldn't get the rebound. The Soviets break up Mihailov with Klinov on the left. Klinov going right in. Past it. Instead of shooting, and blew a great scoring opportunity. Sometimes you can pass too often. Cornwallis goes in on the left side. His shot is away wide. Leanoff took it again to center ice. Over the line, turned around. Esposito clearing too far for Cornwallis. Gusev goes in back of the net. Mahavlich fell when he stopped the Soviet player Gusev, and he just stayed on top of the puck. Dennis Hull, Rattel, and Gilbert going out for Canada. Park and Bergman will be the defense. The Soviets leading 2-1, 3:25 left in the first period. And if anything, it's really been a tough struggle out there all the way. A long shot by Dennis Hull. He goes after the rebound. Zagankov beat him to it. Maltsev from the corner shoots it to center ice and went off Bergman's skate. A pass to Gilbert, who couldn't get past center ice. Another try by Park. They're closing in. Rattel to Park. Right in. He scores! Park from Rattel. And Canada tied it up. Park from Rattel for Canada.
This is a beautiful two-way play by Jean Rattel and Brad Park. And you can tell that they're teammates because they knew exactly what they were doing. Rattel slipped the puck through to Park, and Park buried it in the far corner of the net. A great goal for Team Canada by Brad Park. Out of the end zone, we see it set up. Team Canada gets control. A good move. Now Park makes the initial move, gets it off to Rattel. Rattel gives it back, and he beats Tretiak cleanly.
Park and Rattel went in there like a well-oiled machine. And Park top the top corner to beat Tretiak, and it's all tied up again, 2-all. Canada 2, the Soviets 2. Puck is shot to the Soviet zone. Yakushev at his own blue line, playing it over on that right wing to Anderson. Petrov on the left side didn't follow through. A quick pass, Clark. Cleared over on the left side at center ice. Lapointe going in over the line, and Ellis was called on the offside. 2:35 remaining. Park is on the bench there. He has kind of a satisfied look there. Bergman is sitting beside him. From the face-off, the puck goes into the Soviet zone. Lyapkin after it, 25, back to the net, out to Shadron on the right side to Anderson at center. Anderson over the line, pass back to Shadron. His roller went right across the goal mouth. No steam behind it. A lob pass comes all the way back to the Soviet zone. Vasiliev tried to make the pass. Petrov now at center ice. Here's a long shot. Dryden knocked that one down with his glove. Fed it to the corner to Clark. Henderson, Clark, and Ellis out there. The pass was blocked at center ice. Lyapkin going in. Fake the move. There's a shot. Dryden covered the short side when Savard was moved out of position. A pass to Ellis, to Clark, back to Ellis. Here's a shot. And it was dead on there as Vasiliev tried to block him. A high loft down the far side. Lost it as a defense. By being a little too fancy. We understand Hull was also given an assist on that last score by Canada. Park from Rattel and Hull. A long shot goes into the crowd and a wild scramble to pick up the puck. A 2-all tie with 1:20 left in the first period.
It appears so far in this game, Foster, with 1:20 left in the first period, that when Team Canada is playing the Russians even at 6 men aside, Team Canada is a better hockey team. When they get the penalties or they go a man short, then they get themselves in trouble.
Ready for the face-off in the Canadian zone. And Stapleton played it cautiously, but not out. It's batted in there by Petrov to Blinoff. Blinoff back to the goal. Still has it. Overskated it. Gets it again. Bill White tried to block him. It's back to the net. Right, covered the short side. Mihailov tried to scoop it. And Stapleton was giving him a couple of jolts. 1:01 left in the first period, a 2-all tie. Face-off is being brought outside the Canadian line. There's the look at one of the officials there, Joe Campalla, who's been really under fire. He's from West Germany. He caused one of the big arguments before the game started. The Canadians didn't want either of the West German referees. A quick pass is intercepted at center ice. Blinoff, weaving a bit at center, is stopped on the third try. He's trying it again, number 9, over on that right wing. The lob pass comes right back off a skate, but it was offside again. And the Soviets are passing themselves dizzy and missing some great scoring chances.
And there's a good look at the Soviet crowd. And there's the big Canadian flag coming out of that crowd with the Go Canada Go chant. Mission possible. Anything's possible, Foster.
Yeah, this is quite a dramatic struggle here. It's got everything. Tension. And, of course, the Parisi incident nearly set the place on fire here. But they've cooled out, and they're back to playing hockey. Phil Esposito now at center ice. Ellis is on right wing, so the Canadian team are still juggling their lines, and Peter Mahovlich is over on that left wing. Peter Mahovlich tried to slash that puck out. Maltsev tried it, Park lost it, and it's now recovered by Pete Mahovlich, who centered right on to Petrov's stick, and a hard shot. Dryden covered the short side, as the Canadian team are a little lax and having difficulty getting that puck clear. They're not making sure getting it out of their own zone.
Dryden is sharp tonight, Foster. That was an exceptional save he made. The quick glove was up there, and he robbed Petrov of a good scoring chance.
17 seconds remaining in the first period. There's a trip. Bergman was upset. He upset Maltsev. A roller comes right back out to center ice. Gusev, number 2 for the Soviets. Waiting with 4 seconds left. It goes into the corner. It's taken in back to the net, and the siren goes, and that ends the first period. With the score, Canada 2 and the Soviets 2. This is Game 8 from Moscow.
The solid 73 Ford Torino can it ride over this course of 2x4 smoothly enough to keep a tightrope walker balanced on top? High wire specialist Bill Couch is about to find out on a tightrope rigged to Torino's body. He's counting on Torino's suspension to soak up the bumps and keep them safely on that wire. Bill signals, and they're off. The ride is rough, but not for Bill, as Torino's remarkable suspension does its job. The 1973 Ford Torino, the solid midsize that gives you confidence on the road. Incredibly smooth riding, stable, strong, and quiet. Because it's a Ford. The new 1973 Ford Torino at your Ford dealers now. Ford Torino, the solid midsize.
On the way to the rink tonight for the game, a rare opportunity for Canadians, as Howie Meeker and I stopped by the Central Army Sports Club. And Howie, a few surprises, I think, and a few eye-openers for somebody who works with youngsters in Canada. You're not kidding, Bill. It's, I think, quite a shock, and one I've certainly enjoyed, because these fellas are 15 and 16 years of age, and they use exactly the same drills as the bigger teams do, let's say their top clubs, and they're pretty proficient at the skills. The thing that impresses me is they all seem to be moving all the time. There's no idle time when these kids are on the ice. Well, this is one thing I think that has been most impressive in Russia, is the way that they utilize 1 hour of ice time. And the number of coaches that they have. There are 3 coaches here this afternoon, and all of them are involved in the practice and teaching skills and keeping the boys moving. I think they get more benefit out of an hour of practice here, each individual, than we do 3 hours at home. And according to their coach, these kids that we watched today work out 6 times a week. Yeah, and more in the summertime. Yeah. So I would think that
there's reason for us to start to worry because they have at least 7 teams of this caliber here in Moscow alone and all kinds of across the country. So I would think they're one of the strongest hockey people going.
Howie, a lot of the drills are the same, but unless Eddie Shore uses, I don't think the rubber rope on the hockey player is one that's used in Canada.
I think this one was designed for Canadian hockey. We're supposed to be the clutch and grabbers, and these fellas here are certainly learning to move under pressure, and they're handling the puck as well. I think it's a great exercise to develop power, and by developing power, I don't mean strengthening the legs. I mean turning the skate out far enough. You'll notice as they're doing this exercise, the angle that they have to turn the skate to get the most thrust, and this is just a tremendous thing to see.
Now, I know the passing drills are something that really interests you because I've heard you say that 40% of the passes in the National Hockey League are not completed.
Well, that's pretty close to it, I think, if someone took a strict count on it. But I think the weakest part of our game, maybe not at the pro level, but under that is the passing of the puck. And this is what I'm most interested in today. And they've been kind enough to show me 3 or 4 of them, and I'm going to use them, I'll tell you.
Now, the one particular passing drill, these boys all seem to be doing blind passes, but very accurately.
Well, really, they're not blind passes. They, while the puck is coming to them, they know where the pass receiver is traveling to, and they're not looking at that spot, and they're putting the puck into that spot, as we call back home, putting the puck into the slot or into the hole. And it's just a tremendous drill that they're using, and obviously these fellas have learned the skills below this level. Now it's a case of putting the skills together in team cohesion. And they have a drill here with 17 players on the ice. 5 going one way, 5 going the other, and 5 in the middle. And puck control, and the passes are short and crisp, and the head has to be up. It's to me, amazing that boys this age can do it.
A look at some of the young hockey players in the Soviet Union. Those boys 15 and 16 years of age, and right now, right across Canada, boys the same age are getting ready for Hockey Canada training clinics and so on, and Gary Alcorn is the Director of Programs for Hockey Canada. Gary, have you learned anything in the Soviet Union?
Well, I've learned quite a bit, Bill, mostly hockey, fortunately, but certainly the coaches in the Soviet Union, as that film clip demonstrates, are very apt and able to work with young boys. And the orientation on development of skills and the coaching is just fantastic, and it, I think, bears well for their future, and it's something we have to be very aware of.
Now, what programs are getting underway right now in Canada?
Well, across Canada, we have specifically a coaching certification program that is being conducted in various areas throughout the provinces of Canada. And this is the first level of a 3-level stage, which we hope to expand on and improve throughout the years.
Okay, Gary Alcorn, thank you very much. Gary, the Director of Programs for Hockey Canada. And, you know, we've been seeing a lot of fans all the way from Canada, but Pat has some fans standing by right now, and there are a couple of pretty familiar faces over there, Patrick.
As everybody knows, over the past number of games, we've been going into the stands to find out what the fans' reaction are. Well, fans aren't the only ones that have made this trek to Moscow. As a matter of fact, some very knowledgeable hockey people have made it as well. I've got with me Father David Bauer, and before we get to Punch Imlach, Father Dave, let me ask you first of all what your impressions generally have been of the contingent that have come to follow the series.
Well, I think the contingent here has the quality which the great Russian observer, Mr. Tarasov, said that he wished his team had, and that is perhaps a little more enthusiasm, a little more desire, and when they get that, he figured that they would be just about the best. These fans here have been tremendous in support of the Canadian team.
Father, you've been through all these international pressures before. It's 2-2 at the end of the first period. Is that a good position for Canada to be in?
Well, I think so much depends on penalties from here on in, although I think Canada has responded remarkably to their penalties, but it still will be, I think, tonight a matter of who is going to stay on the ice and who's going to take the penalties. That's the way it seems to me.
Father, what's been the highlight of the trip as far as you're concerned, from a Canadian point of view?
Well, I think perhaps not only the quality generally of the hockey, but I think the enthusiasm of so many Canadians, and to see that it's hopefully going to serve as a point of greater unity at home, and perhaps with a little bit of care, here some good relationships abroad.
Father, it's always nice to chat with you, of course. Let me just turn now to George Punch Imlach, the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres. Punch, first of all, it's great to see you back in your feet and doing so well. What were your impressions of the first period?
Well, it's a good hockey game, just like every other hockey game has been here, and the fans are certainly getting their money's worth. But I'm a little afraid for the Canadians. If they keep throwing these tantrums that they keep on coming up with, they're going to be in the hole, and they won't be able to get out of it.
Punch, what did you feel about the calls in the first period? What was your impression of the calls, the penalty calls?
Well, they weren't all that bad, really. The fans called a couple of, you might say, questionable ones. I think maybe one for both sides. And really, I don't think the referee so far has influenced the game, except that they've scored goals. Actually, when you get 2 men short, but really, Peter Mahalbach deserved the penalty. He not only hooked him, but then he sat on top of him to make matters worse. How could he miss it?
You know, the funny thing I thought, Punch, during the press conference a couple of nights ago, Harry Sinden mentioned that they never called interference, and now 4 of the penalties in the first period were interference, so obviously they've taken that to heart.
Well, I don't think he knows any other word but interference. He called Kanoya an interference. Of course, it wasn't interference, but actually he tripped him.
Punch, it's great talking with you. Best of luck with the Buffalo Sabres and, of course, throughout the National Hockey League years to come. After the first period, the score is Canada 2, the Soviets 2, and this is Game 8 from Moscow.
The competition has been going to almost any length trying to figure out the success of Ford pickups and Ford Econoline vans. One of the most important reasons is a unique, tough truck suspension, Ford's exclusive twin I-beam front suspension. The I-beams themselves are strong, forged in the I shape, the toughest, most durable steel design there is. And they are held in alignment by strong radius rods, separated from the frame by flexible rubber bushings. And by having 2 I-beams, 1 for each wheel, the wheels can step over bumps independently. A big bump on one wheel leaves the other wheel virtually unaffected. The exclusive truck-tough twin I-beam front suspension is the reason Ford pickups and Econoline vans can work like trucks and ride like cars. But you don't have to go to all this trouble to see it. All you have to do is see your Ford or Mercury dealer.
Well, Howie Meeker, I think you're going to prove that the Soviet passing patterns can be broken, but to break them, it really helps to have a full complement of men on the ice.
Certainly does, and I think the Canadians have adjusted to the Russian pattern. And what we'd like you to see here is the way that they're disciplined and they're regimented, and they make passes where a fellow's supposed to be. Now, this is Gusev with the puck, and it goes to Petrov to Gusev. Now, there should be someone right there, according to their theology, and there isn't. And this happens time and time again. Now, this is along the boards up in the other end, and watch the Russians take a hold of Phil Esposito. Now, as they disengage, watch Phil hang on a little bit. Now, watch the Russians spear him right in the back of the leg with the point of the stick, not the heel. And you'll see a little later on where Phil will get him back. This led to a penalty. Phil went back at him, but very foolishly high-sticked him in front of everybody else, and he took a 2-minute penalty for it. But this is something that never happens in, or very seldom happens in Canadian hockey. Now, this is the goal here that Gilbert got. Now, watch the Russian put it right on Gilbert's stick. Now, Gilbert throws it to Rattel. Now, watch this Russian. Put it right back on Gilbert's stick, and he brings it out, and Reddick opens his legs, and he puts it in. Now, there's 2 instances there where Gilbert was in the position where Russian should have been. And they don't look. They'll make the pass without looking. Now, here with this, we come to a little scuffle in behind the net. We want you to just sharp to watch Phil Esposito get even with the fella, and watch the Russian kick. Now, look at there. There goes the stick in there. Pretty nice, eh? Now, watch the kicking. There's the spearing. Now, watch this. Look at that. Isn't that awful? Now, watch him turn around and kick again. And this is what we have to put up with very subtly. You know, they don't do it that open. This way at that ice level, and we get it pretty good.
I talked to Gary Bergman right after the game. He said, I think we've found a new kicker for the Argonauts, and he was referring to him right there. But what about this game here tonight? What have you seen in this first
we got
period?
just a tremendous hockey game going again. I was kind of thinking there's no way that it could carry on, but it is. And here you'll see the Russian discipline break down again. 2 men go into the corner. They break the box or break the triangle. Now, there goes one. Now, watch. There's the second one. Now, this opens up the puck to come back to the point, over to Brad Park, who lets her go. And I would think Phil
hit the Lutsenko stick as he put it in. But there again, when your discipline breaks down, when your pattern breaks down, and I'm kind of happy to see it, so come on, Canada.
Are you excited, Howie?
Are
Just a
we
little bit,
ever?
perhaps. After
Yes,
the first period, the score Canada 2, Russia 2. This is Game 8 from Moscow.
My husband works hard for his money. That's why we try to make sure we get our money's worth. And that's why we decided to buy a Maverick. To us, Maverick offers real value. It has a reasonable price. It's easy to handle and park. It's just the right size. Steady on the highway. And ideal for our trips. Our Maverick gives us all we demand from a car.
Maverick is for tough customers.
Houses like ours have been here a long time. They were built to last. Like our old black and white Zenith up in the front bedroom. I guess it's the way they build Zeniths that sold us on our new Chromacolor TV. And look at this. If somebody foozles the color, you just poke one button and the brilliant Chromacolor picture's perfect again. You just feel good about owning a Zenith.
Zenith Confidence, knowing you can't buy a better TV.
Well, you know, it's been a great hockey series, but it hasn't all been a bed of roses, particularly for one fella, Alan Eagleson, the executive director of the National Hockey League Players Association, the man who's very responsible for this series. Al, what was the latest problem you encountered?
Two big problems today. The Russians agreed on Tuesday to 2 referees. They advised us today they wouldn't accept those. They wanted the 2 West Germans who caused all the trouble the other night. Then we start the game tonight, and one of the referees says to Esposito, so he didn't want me to referee this game, eh? So then we handled that part of it, and then they called 2 penalties in succession, and I think the fellow's tempers just exploded a little too much. The second problem tonight, I guess, was Parise. They wanted him to get a game misconduct, a 10-minute misconduct, a 2-minute minor for interference, on top of which they wanted him to serve the game misconduct and Phil Esposito or some other person on our team to sit in the penalty box for 10 minutes. It's just a joke, but I'll tell you this. Our players are giving everything. They've been giving it for 8 weeks. They're not going to quit on Canada now, and I'm really proud of every one of them, as all people in Canada are, I'm sure, and thanks for all your telegrams. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for the support of the fans here in the rink. It's terrific, and we're not going to let you down. Pat, as you know, I've got a presentation to make to Mr. Trottier.
Yes, this is a presentation to the Canadian Embassy from the National Hockey League Players.
As in commemoration of Mr. Trottier of this great series, we'd like this to be on view at our Canadian Embassy in thanks for all your embassy people and Mr. Ford, our ambassador, has done for our players. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eagleson. You and the players have brought us great hockey. Now, to add this, you wish us to have a memento of this occasion, which I'll be glad to pass on to the ambassador and to all my colleagues of the Canadian Embassy. We were very happy to have you all here. Mr. Trottier.
The puck is now from the face-off into the Soviet zone. Vasiliev cleared in front of his own net. It's grabbed off by Henderson momentarily. Yakushev comes away on the right wing, closes in with his shot wide. It's bounced in front of the net. Chatterjee scores! Chadron got that loose puck. And that put the Soviet one up there when Dryden was unable to clear the puck. And it was shot right back at him.
What we see coming off the back screen, Dryden doesn't see the puck come back. It comes back right to the middle, and Chadron drills it home.
Yakushev. Henderson stopped him. Keeps that puck in there. Flipped it over to Clark. Here's back to a shot. Stopped as Lapointe let it go. Soviet Vasiliev to center ice. Shooting the puck into the corner. Going after it. Lapointe bumped him. Pickleoff was held against the boards by Ellis. As Canada carry back, Peter Mahovlich going up over on the line. Failed to get his shot. Now Ellis tears into the corner. Vasiliev lost it, and it goes back to the net. Soviet in possession. A block pass, getting it again, only to have Gilbert break it up as the players change on the go. Vasiliev covering up on the boards, and the play is stopped with 13:05 left in the second period. 3-2 for the Soviets.
Foster, I've just been informed that we are experiencing some video losses, and they're being experienced in our signal between Moscow and London. and we apologize to you for the interruption at home.
Ready for the face-off in the Soviet zone. Goes back on the wing. A roller. Mikulov lost it, but the Soviets come in on a rush. Here's a chance in front of the net as Gusev was bowled over as White took him right out of the play. Peter Mahovlich carries back at center ice. He ran into Luchenko, was knocked over. Luchenko carries to safety back of the Soviet goal. Here's a shot by Stapleton, right on, right in front for Gilbert. It hit a skate. Bill White goes in for a shot. It's blocked. Now another one by Rattel. Goes to Gilbert, right in front. And Tretiak stopped that one. To Gantov. Cleared to Mishikov. Over on the right side to Harlamov. Harlamov goes again. Here's a shot. Right, stop that one. As the crowd are in a tremendous uproar as they go back and forth here with lightning speed. Change of players.
Well, Foster, this period so far with just 8 minutes gone by is just wide open hockey. And this is just a totally different game from what we've seen in that first period, which was interrupted almost every 30 seconds or so with a penalty.
Soviets leading 3-2, 12-11 left in the second period. Petrov was checked, but gets that puck again in the Canadian zone, shot it back to the net. Mihailov is beaten to it by Bergman. Bergman, number 2, goes back to the Canadian goal. Dryden in the net. Give it to Phil Esposito, who's coming up with Barnweye and Frank Mahovlich. He got as far as the Soviet line, couldn't get any farther. A lob pass to Mihailov, going in on that left wing. He passed, and it's intercepted. Park rushing back on the right side. Goes over the line with Phil Esposito. Park shoots one wide. Barnweye back to Mahovlich. Phil Esposito was dumped on the play, and Park recovers at center ice with Mahovlich going in on the left side, centered it, and the pass is knocked down. A three-man break for the Soviets. Petrov got the pass, gets the return, and Klinov was bowled over on the play. Canada coming back, Barnweye and Mahovlich right in, and the shot was grabbed by Tretiak. And you don't find one any closer than that. Tretiak was knocked right over on the play.
The best save of the night by either goaltender. How Tretiak stopped this puck off Ivan Cornelier, I don't know. He didn't catch it in the glove. He takes it up in his forearm. A tremendous save by Tretiak.
11:07 left in the second period. Soviets 3, Canada 2. Canada playing every man up. And there has been a penalty in this second period. Quite a different story from the first. They've settled down to straight hockey. Addison is covered on the board. And they're playing desperation hockey at this stage. The question, which team will break? A quick pass to Yakushev at center ice. To Addison on the right. Going in back to the net. Failed to center it. Henderson returns with Ellis over on the right side. And Shadron broke it up. The pass by Lapointe was knocked down by Shadron over to Addison. A long drive is wide of the Canadian goal. Forward pass to Henderson. His relay was intercepted. And the Soviet, Yakushev, failed to get the pass. It goes back to Lyapkin. And the two teams seem to be taking a breather at the moment. Vasiliev, number 6, goes back in front of his own goal. Played one off Yakushev's skate. He carries down on the right side, weaving a bit, pass to Addison, and the shot was caught by Dryden. It was off the target, and another change of players at 10:05 of the second period.
Well, this 10 minutes in this period could well be the best hockey in this series so far. It's been wide open. Both teams have gone back and forth, and both the goaltenders have been called upon to make some great saves.
Lining up now with Mishikov over there on the left wing. There's Harry Sinden keeping a close lookout on things. And there's plenty happening. The Canadians break out with Dennis Hull trying to get a long forward pass. The Gankov failed to clear. Mishakov goes back to his own net, number 12 for the Soviets. Moves to the blue line at center. Stopped, and Bill White laid one over to Dennis Hull, who took a long shot, and Tretiak deflected that slap shot right into the crowd.
Harlamov, number 17, has taken his turn again out on the ice, but Foster, there's no way he's right. He's favoring one of his legs, and he's not going at 100% tonight.
Ready for the face-off in the Soviet zone. Rattel got the draw. Gilbert turns, waits, stands there, still backing up, takes his shot, is right in front of the score! Bill White deflected it into the net. Bill White from, and the score is all tied up. White from Gilbert to tie the score for Canada.
You won't see a more beautiful scoring play in hockey than this play by Bill White, set up perfectly by Rod Gilbert. Gilbert gives him the absolute perfect tip-in, and Bill White, mind you, as a defenseman, walks right in when he sees the opportunity and tips it into the net. An absolutely beautiful scoring play by Canada.
White was standing right on the edge of the goal crease when Gilbert had jockeyed that puck into a position, passed in front of the net, and White tipped it in to give Canada a 3-3 tie at 10:32 of the second period. The puck is in play again. Canada on the move. Gilbert coming in again. Here's a chance. A shot by Rattel went wide. Gilbert fired one across the goal mouth. And Canada has the Soviet on the run in right in front of the net. A scramble. And Tretiak is down, hanging on for dear life as they were pouring in on him.
Canada's putting on tremendous pressure here, having just scored. And Rod Gilbert, if he just had been able to control the puck a little better, would have had another goal.
Ready for the face-off in the Soviet zone, and that's where it remains. Now they finally get it out on that left wing at center. They shoot it in this time. It's into the corner for Gilbert, number 8 for Canada. A flip pass. Rattel cuts back to Gilbert, over to Peter Mahovlich. Peter Mahovlich crosses the Soviet line, fired one, and missed the net. Then Pat Stapleton went in and was unable to get the roller. Gusev back to the Soviet goal. Frank Mahovlich steps on the ice. And Cornwallier coming in on the wing, passes back to Rattel. Rattel is checked. A two-man break for the Soviet. One man back. Here they're closing in. Mihailov shoots. And Dryden came up with a dazzling save on Mihailov, who was in there alone, and Dryden fell and covered up.
Spectacular save by Dryden here. Dryden has to keep his eye on both players coming down on him. The pass is flipped off to Mihailov. He lets a blistering shot go, and Dryden lunges across the net and takes it up in the upper body. A spectacular save by Ken Dryden.
8:21 left in the second period. Canada and the Soviets are tied 3-3. 8:21 left in the second period, and you hear that Canadian crowd really whooping it up. Canada carrying the play at this stage. Here's a roll right in front of the net. They score! Yakushev was right in front of the net, and there's that deadly shot again from close in to give the Soviet a 4-3 lead.
Yakushev has to be the Soviets' most dangerous player. He's parked right at the top of the goal crease. He's got Dryden at his mercy. He gives him a little fake and then flips it right along the ice. A beautiful goal by Yakushev.
Yakushev got that one from Shadron. He was right in front of the net after the face-off. And that goal was 11:43. Yakushev from Shadron. And now the Soviets take that lead again. Anderson's roller is covered by Dryden. And the Canadian team, up until then, had a clear-cut margin in the last 5 minutes of play. And then that one break on a face-off right around the Canadian goal.
Foster, in that first game in Canada, Harlamov was so impressive, but I have to believe now that Alexander Yakushev has to be the best hockey player on this Soviet team. He's a big, rangy left winger. He can skate, he can shoot, and he can handle that puck beautifully. And of course, He's the top scorer in this series.
The face-off will be to the left of Dryden, Shadron, Anderson, and Yakushev, the line. The puck goes over to Ellis. 3 times the Canadian team have tied this score. Now the Soviets have taken the lead again, 4-3. But they're really in there fighting, and they're just about even on the play. The puck goes into the corner. The Soviets trying to center back. Vasiliev shot one that hit Savard on the back. Ellis into the corner, shoots it back to Savard. It's over onto the right wing. Canada on the attack at center ice, led by Clark. Over on the right wing, a shot by Ellis was knocked down. The Soviets try a 2-man break, and Henderson broke it up. Savard going back to get it. Soviet changing on the go. Here's a long pass over to Ellis. It slides to Petrov, and Petrov shot one at his own man, and Petriak nearly had a heart attack there as he had to stop that one from his own player. 6:59 left in the second period. Up 4-3 for the Soviets. Soviets 4, Canada 3. And it's just that kind of a game. 7 goals scored in about a period and a third.
It's interesting to observe in this whole series, there's only been one score that has been relatively low. The rest of the scores have all gone up, and of course, the explanation for that is that we have the top goal scorers from the National Hockey League representing Team Canada, and of course, we know that almost any player on the Soviet team can score goals, and all of these games have seen a lot of goals go behind each goaltender.
There's no question, though, the best man on the ice so far in this game has been Yakushev. From the face-off, the puck rolls off to the side. A lob pass to Mihailov. Ahead at center ice. Petrov fired one. Dryden stopped it. But that rebound keeps coming out in front. Phil Esposito carrying back now with Frank Mahovlich on the left wing. Cornwallis in possession. Here's his shot. Tretiak had it bounce off the screen, grabbed it. And it's very confusing to the goalkeeper as that puck hits that netting, and it just bounces back about 20 feet and generally ends up in front of the net. Dryden was fooled on one of those rebounds off the screen. 4-3 for the Soviets. 6:36 left in the period. Canada in possession. Puck goes back to Cornwallis. He failed to tip it in front. Gusev for the Soviet in the corner. Lobbed one at center ice, a 2-man break, but they got back in time to cover up on that play. Savard was able to get back there and get that puck between his knees as Lapointe was covering in front of the net, but it was a 2-man break for the Soviets.
What we saw Serge Savard do there is all important for any defenseman when a man comes down on you 1-on-1. He played the man, not the puck. He took the player right out of the play. The puck went in between his feet. He eventually fell down and smothered it, but he played the man all the way.
From the face-off, the puck goes to the blue line, but not out. Phil Esposito going with a pass behind the net. Bill White failed to get out on his pass. Mahovlich is forced into the corner, shooting it over to Bill White. Bill White across to Stapleton, ahead to Mahovlich, and the puck got away from him. Soviet return fast. Blinov. Here's Petrov coming in to Blinov at one side of the net, and that slider went wide. The Soviets get it again. Blinov over on the far wing. Here's a fake shot to Blinov in front of the net. He tipped it and rolled in front of the goal. And Dryden was away out of the net. And that was saved by Phil Esposito, who slid in front of the net to cover that loose puck. Blinov had a great chance.
Dryden was beaten cleanly here. He was pulled right out of the net by Blinov. Blinov went to tuck it in the corner, and Phil Esposito steals it right off his stick and prevents a goal against Canada. A great defensive effort by Phil Esposito.
From the face-off, the Soviets get that draw again. Zagankov from the corner centered it. Stapleton shot it out. And it's going down, but it won't be called. Luchenko Number 3 for the Soviet, turning with Bishakov on the left. Here's a shot right off the bat as Canada intercepted. Gilbert had a drive that missed. Down the right wing for Maltsev. He goes into the corners, knocked down. Stapleton is going to get a penalty. I'll bet they call it interference. And likely be a cross-check. With the score, the Soviets 4, Canada 3. This is game 8 from Moscow.
Quiet is the sound of a well-made car. Inside a Ford Galaxy 500 on a highway, we took sound readings and averaged a very quiet 65 decibels. Then we shook up this Ford with a million bumps, shakes, and deep vibrations. Now, after the shake test on the same highway, at the same speed and conditions, not 1 decibel point noisier. Ford Galaxy 500. Quiet is the sound of a well-made car. See your Ford dealer now.
Stapleton off for cross-checking. That's one of the few times he hasn't called it interference. Time is 14:58. Second period. Soviets leading. Sagankov lobbed a pass in front. Dryden knocked it to the wing. Maltsev comes from the corner. Shot right across the Colmo. And it hit the side there. Dryden had his leg right in the right spot for it. It's Sagankov clearing. They have the odd man. A bad pass goes back to center ice. Soviet having the odd man advantage. Harlamov, who's working under wraps in this game, gets over on that left wing. Maltsev comes over the line. There's the pass to Harlamov. The pass went right across the goal mouth. Sagankov into the corner. Shot one in front. Bill White broke it up. Peter Mahovlich carries back at center ice. Shot it back to Bill White. Bill White lobbed it down the ice. And Phil Esposito is stepping out to replace Clark. He's out there with Peter Mahovlich, killing off the penalty. Maltsev at center, showed a burst of speed, keeps on going, was thrown off stride. Mahovlich shoots it down the ice, and he's replaced by Ellis. And they replace players in this game when they're about 25 feet away from the penalty from the bench. The referee is going to catch somebody one of these times. A long pass on the right side by Hylov. Was slugged there by Bergman. Yakushev goes back to the blue line, trying to draw his man away. Yakushev still has it on that far side. Passes back on the boards. There's that tic-tac-toe passing play. Vasiliev is going to take a shot. There'll be another penalty on the play. They simply scored. Gadron deflected it into the net. Gadron deflected that one into the net.
Vasiliev, number 6, has Dryden at his mercy, and all the time Gadron is walking right in towards the post and takes the tip in and buries the shot for a very, very important goal in this game.
With the score, the Soviets 5, Canada 3. This is game 8 from Moscow.
Look, we can tell you Edge gives you a better shave than foam, but to be really convinced, try this simple test. Take some foam and Edge gel and rub them both. You can feel that extra Edge lubrication. The more lubrication, the smoother the shave. That's why Edge is a gel, because Edge gives you up to 3 times more lubrication than bubbly foam. Edge, it's better than foam, any foam, because it's a gel. Try it.
An argument back there. There was going to be a Canadian penalty handed out, but because the Soviets scored, the penalty, of course, will not be called. The crowd are getting a bit upset about that, but that's the rule. The referees, though, don't seem to be too because they were going to put a Canadian player off regardless. Now the argument starts down here now as to what's going to happen. 3:16 is left in the second period. The Soviets have taken a 2-goal lead. The first time a team has had a 2-goal lead in the game tonight. On the Canadian scoring play at 10:32 of this second period, scored by White, Gilbert and Rattel were given assists. Rattel was added. From the face-off, the puck goes into the Soviet zone. Soviets leading 5-3 with 3 minutes and 3 seconds remaining, with Frank Mahovlich shooting it wide of the net. Gusev shot one ahead. Blinoff deflected it into the crowd, and the face-off is going to be to the left of Fritjak.
Coming up in our second period intermission, I'll comment on a feature called The Moscow That Was. Pat will get some comments from Punch Imlach as well as Bobby Orr, and Howie Meeker will review the highlights.
From the face-off, it's kept in there. Lapointe had a shot that was blocked to the defense. Another two-man break. Mihailov coming in. Pass back to Petrov. And a great save there on a three-way passing play. Back comes Canada at center. Out over the line. And they're being outplayed at this stage by the Soviets. It's a cleared pass off a skate. Comes in over the line. Kuskin is blocked by Cornwallis with Phil Esposito helping out. Gusev had a pass blocked by Cornwallis coming in on that side. He tried to dig it out for Phil Esposito, and then Mahovlich shot one wide from the other side. Savard into the corner, trying to dig it out. Here's Cornwallis coming in with a shot. It went loose. Another chance. It's going to be a penalty call here now. With a score, the Soviets 5, Canada 3. This is game 8 from Moscow.
Labatt's Blue! Give me an L and an A and a B and an A and a T and a T and apostrophe. S, Labatt's Blue. Just keep on smiling and say Labatt's Blue. Blue smiles along with you. Blue, 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 blue. Labatt's Blue.
Kuskin is going in the penalty box for the Soviet for elbowing at 18:06. So the Canadian team, for one of the few times, will have the odd man advantage. Soviets leading 5-3. And Shadron has had 2 goals for the Soviets, and so has Yakushev. Puck is taken back into the Canadian zone park. Let's Esposito pick it up. Esposito 7. Esposito at the blue line. They're moving up slowly at center. Over on the wing to Henderson. Out there with Ellis on the right. Puck goes back to the net. Henderson trying to dig it out. Lutsenko covered him, but Park gets it back to the blue line. Stapleton to Park. Park stands there trying to draw his check. Back to Stapleton at the blue line. Over to Esposito, and it deflected off his stick and went into the crowd. 1:16 left in the second period. 5-3 for the Soviet with 1:22 left in the Soviet penalty.
What Canada hasn't been able to do when they have had the extra man advantage is establish good puck control with their power play in the offensive zone.
Ready for the face-off. It comes back at center ice. Pat Stapleton, number 3, at center. Shot one into the corner. Ellis after it. It bounced off the boards. Vasiliev failed to clear. A fake shot goes into the corner. Ellis trying to dig it out to Phil Esposito in front of the net. And Esposito deflected one wide. Henderson back to Stapleton. Over on the wing. Here's the shot. Wide of the net. The Soviet really under pressure. Then Henderson fell. Now Vasiliev is covered by Henderson in the corner. Shadron goes in to help, and the play is stopped with 39 seconds remaining in the period. And Henderson really, like a lightning bolt, going in that corner to cover his man 2 or 3 times. A change of players.
Just a reminder to hockey fans at home viewing these games, you can participate in voting for the most valuable player on Team Canada by sending the name of your choice to Box 5050 in Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver. The winner, as selected by the fans, will receive the Labatt Best on Ice Award. Ballots are available from any Labatt representative.
Esposito, Cornwallier, and Mahovlich out there for Canada. The puck goes around back of the net. The Apkin shoots it off the boards. Petrov went after it. Goes right down the ice with Lapointe going into the corner for Canada. Mahovlich is cutting in front of him, picking off the pass down the right boards. Still going. Coming in on the right side. Back of the net was checked. It hit the screening. Mahovlich in the opposite corner gets it out to Esposito. His shot hit the Soviet player. He gets it again. He's carried in on the side by Lichenko, and the Soviets shoot it down, and the period is over. With the score, the Soviets 5, Canada 3. This is Game 8 from Moscow.
Marcel Dion talks about
sticks. CCM designed sticks for more than shooting, for passing, checking, support, balance, and protection against these big guys.
You better use something good to hold those sticks, like CCM gloves. They're flexible, and they give you great protection whenever you need it. Hey, keep that stick down.
Hey, keep those gloves on.
There's a new way to borrow. 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 A new way to borrow at the TD Bank. The TD Bank.
Ask your TD manager about cash flow, a new way to borrow based mainly on what you earn, not what you own. Cash flow. The bank where people make the difference.
With 3,000 Canadians in this Lenin Sports Palace, there's an incredible amount of emotion on display, and it's very understandable because for most of those 3,000 people, and indeed for the players on Team Canada, it's an opportunity to see a country that up until now has been one that they have merely had a chance to read about, to dream about, whatever, but very seldom have had a chance to see. But for Brian Conacher, it's a trip back to a country as a commentator that he visited as a player. So he toured the city with cameraman Bob Gibson.
On September the 19th, some 3,000 Canadians began to disembark from 20 jet aircraft. These were not ordinary tourists. These were hardcore Canadian hockey fans on a pilgrimage to support Canada's best hockey players against those of the Soviet Union. For them, this was Moscow. Moscow was also the experience of walking over the cobblestones of Red Square, where czars rode in their carriages, peasants trod in their felt boots, soldiers marched, and the proletariat walks today. Moscow with endless lines of people, like this one at Lenin's tomb. Magnificent churches like St. Basil stand as memorials of what was in the time of the Tsar. Moscow is a study in contrast, where old buildings stand amongst post-revolutionary structures, such as the impressive Moscow University. And modern buildings project skyward out of the constant din of heavy traffic. Moscow is Canadians flocking to see the Bolshoi Theater, the Kremlin, the Armory, and a multitude of other magnificent sights. Moscow is 3,000 exuberant Canadian hockey fans, creating bedlam as they jammed their way into the Luzhniki Sports Palace, reminding one of a Grey Cup weekend in Toronto or Vancouver. Moscow with 4 superb hockey games, whether we won or lost. Thousands of telegrams indicated total fan support at home. And lastly, Moscow was the deep patriotic experience of hearing 3,000 Canadians sing "O Canada" like it's never been sung before. Suddenly, the be a Canadian was a great feeling.
Those are just some of the memories we'll all take home from the city of Moscow. Believe me, nobody will leave empty-handed. We were talking about many hockey fans coming to visit and to take part in this series. One of them is a former great Toronto Maple Leaf hockey star, now a member of the Ontario Provincial Cabinet, the Minister of Correctional Services, Sill. I was talking about bringing a lot of memories home. I'm sure that we all will. What will be your fondest?
Well, I think the fondest memory I'm going to bring home is the terrific game the Canadians have played over these 4 games. I think everybody in Canada can be really proud of they've worked exceptionally hard. They're trying hard. The game isn't over yet, and the players have been tremendous. And the fans, you've never seen anything like the fans. You've got really, truly Canadian fans over here. It's been a wonderful experience. I wouldn't have missed it.
No, and I think most of us would agree, Still, that it's been unusual. There have been some things possibly that have been upsetting, but that's what's made it enjoyable, the fact that it is different.
Well, it's different, all right. But, I mean, you don't know what to expect, so you have to take what you get, and I think we have. I don't know. This second period has been a great hockey period, one of the best, except for the last few minutes when the Russians got those 2 goals. But they're a good hockey club, and our players have done well.
Still, I'll tell you, a lot of guys have really come to the fore in this series, though. Fellows who may have been underrated in the National Hockey League. I'm thinking specifically of fellows like Paul Henderson and Ronnie Ellis and Bobby Clark, of whom so little was known until really this series came along. And they've just shot really now to international stardom.
That's right. I think probably the two best hockey players we've had, and it's hard to single out 2 of the best of so many of them, but Gillespie, Zito, and Paul Henderson. Paul Henderson, I think, has been terrific, game in and game out. Bobby Clark right along with him. Ronnie Ellis has had some tough luck. He could have had 2 or 3 goals, but he just hasn't been able to put the puck in the net. But those hockey players, they're the greatest in my mind.
Still, we talk a lot about how hockey has been diluted in the National Hockey League and how this is going to do so much to bring it back to really top-notch levels. I know it's very difficult to hazard an opinion on a situation like this, but how would you compare this hockey now to the hockey, say, of the late 40s and 50s?
Oh, this is a much more exciting hockey. The Russians, I think, have opened our eyes. The way they pass the puck around, they play as a 5-man team, and everybody's in there. They pass it very, very well. They're an exceptional condition. I think that our hockey will never be the same, and the Moscow fans will never be the same after listening to these Canadians.
Phil, thanks very much for dropping by.
Thanks, Pat.
After the second period, the score is Russia 5, Canada 3, and this is Game 8 from Moscow.
Look, we can tell you Edge gives you a better shave than foam, but to be really convinced, try this simple test. Take some foam and Edge gel and rub them both. You can feel that extra Edge lubrication. The more lubrication, the smoother the shave. That's why Edge is a gel, because Edge gives you up to 3 times more lubrication than bubbly foam. Edge, it's better than foam, any foam, because it's a gel. Try it.
Make it a time to be happy. Make it a time for a blue. Now when you're smiling, say the band's blue. Smiles along with you. Blue, 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 blue. The band's blue.
Howie Meeker, the story of that second period.
Well, I guess it was just a fantastic passing of the Russians, and we getting caught out of position and not just being as alert as we can in front of our own net. Dryden made some great saves. He just robbed Blinov twice. In fact, one time, Blinov had the puck right behind him, going to put him in the net, and still Esposito come out of nowhere and took it off his stick. And another time, he walked in home free, and Dryden outguessed him, and Highlaw was in home free, and a beautiful pass, and he made another save. It's just a case where he's making the real tough stops, and the ones that are beating him appear to be along the ice. This is a start here early in the period when they really opened the game up, and I think you'll notice here that the Russians, again, when they overpass, they get in a good shooting position. And they'll make the pass. And the defenseman now here. Here they come down into their own end again. And just one pass too many. There's the man in front of the net. And you see there how Esposito come back and took him out. This is just prior to the great save by Blinov. Bill saved the goal there. And now on this seat, look at now, watch. Right out behind him. And look at Bill again in front of the net, makes the big save. He should get paid as a goalkeeper as well as the scorer. He's playing another great game.
There really isn't too much that you can say about the play of Phil Esposito in this series. He came on, and he plays for a club where Bobby Orr takes a lot of the glamour away, and he came on, and he has been the outstanding individual, and really, no question about it, the team leader.
No doubt about it. You know what I do? In the first period, Bill White almost scored a goal. He did something that's not natural to our game. Our defensemen are defensemen. The Russians' defensemen are only defensemen when they haven't got the puck. When they have it, they're gone. He walked in and got a goal. Later in the game, Brad Park got one. I'd move our defense up like the Russians do, and we might snare a goal early in this period and get back in it.
Okay, Howie Meeker, thank you very much. After the second period, the score is the Soviet Union 5, Canada 3. This is Game 8 from Moscow.
John Badham for Labatt's. You know, it's your support that allows Labatt Breweries to bring you so many fine sporting events, such as this Canada-Soviet series, plus the many other national and local sports activities, sponsored by Labatt's in every province. Of course, the Canada-Soviet series is Labatt Breweries' first venture into big league hockey. And again, it's your support that allows Labatt's to bring you the best on ice, which brings me to Labatt's Best on Ice Award for Team Canada's most valuable player. To cast your vote, write down the Team Canada player of your choice and mail to Labatt's Best on Ice Award, Box 5050, Station A, Toronto, and Box 5050, Montreal 126. The player voted most valuable wins a new 1973 Ford Mustang. And again, thanks for your support. And win, lose, or draw. Here's looking at Team Canada through the best beer brewed in our country. Labatt's.
As we await the start of the third period, it's a 5-3 hockey game for the Soviet Union. Eddie Johnson of Team Canada, you've been in the dressing room. How do they feel right now?
Well, I just commented her, Pat, and the spirits are real good, and we had a lot of great chances in that period, and we just realized we put the puck in our net now, that we only need a couple of goals, we're back in a hockey game.
Eddie, it seemed to me that Team Canada was actually forcing the play. Gee, the puck didn't come out of their end for a couple of minutes there, and yet couldn't buy a goal.
Gee, Rattelweiner kept it for about a minute and a half in her own end. All of a sudden, they break out and they pop it in. It was a fluky goal, sort of a type. It hit back to the screen. The cord back there popped out in front of Kenny, and he didn't pick it up quick enough, and next thing you know, it was in the net.
Eddie, are the guys, are they fed up being here? Are they ready to go home? What's the feeling of the fellows?
Well, no, I don't think the guys seem to enjoy it, but this early part of the year, I think the guys once in a while get a little fed up. I think more so because the officiating has been a little rough on us. And like talking to Scotty before, to name the guy at 12:30 before the game that the guy's going to play, and he get a referee to tell him he's sick and he's up in the stands watching the game. So how are you going to cope with that kind of stuff?
Eddie, I guarantee you that there have been problems. One of the problems, a fellow who can solve it a little bit for us, is Scotty Morrison, the referee-in-chief of the National Hockey League. Really, this is an unusual situation to be talking about officials so much, but I think it's also unusual that at 12:30 the day of a game that you should be worrying about them.
Well, I could just say, Pat, if we ran the National League like this, where the fellows are doing the seventh game of the Stanley Cup didn't know until 12:30 the day of the game, we'd be in pretty bad shape.
Really, though? How bad or how good or how inefficient, or what words do you describe the officiating that we've had?
Well, the first game, Sunday's game, Pat, I thought it was absolutely terrible. I was just disgusted. The other three games, I don't think it's been that bad. The two-man system is a very, very tough system to work. These fellows are doing the best they can under the circumstances, but I have to say the first game, I was just, I couldn't speak. I was that annoyed, to be honest with you.
Scotty, I just want to get back to Eddie Johnson for just a moment. Eddie, obviously you've got to get a goal fairly soon because the pressure continues to mount.
Yeah, we're going to have to get a goal in the first couple of minutes, Pat. I think if we get that, I think the momentum might come back on our club. And we're going to have to get one really early. But our club's up for it, and if we get the scoring chance that we had in the second period and we put them in, I think we're back in the ball game.
Eddie Johnson, thanks for being with us. Scotty Morrison. And so, at the end of two periods of play, the score is Canada 5, the Soviet Union 3, and this is Game 8 from Moscow.
Take 5 for 50 ale again. Enjoy.
Put more life in your living.
With 50 ale.